Here we are in West Texas in an area that's known as the Permian Basin. This area has one of the world's thickest deposits of Permian rocks. The question is, how do we know how old these rocks are? According to mainstream science, Permian period was between 300 million years ago and 250 million years ago. So if I drilled down really deep right here in this area, I could pull up a Permian rock. But let's look at a rock. Consider this one. As you can see, there's all kinds of shells in it. It's got tons of fossils in it. And if I can only tell what species of seashell or clam or oyster this is, I could tell how old this rock is. So what dates this rock? The fossils date this rock, okay? Now let's say I could drill down to the Permian and it had some fossils in it. Well, I would know those fossils were Permian age because they were found in Permian rock. So there's a circle here. The fossils date the rock, but yet at the same time, the rocks date the fossils. So there's a circular reasoning, which is well recognized even by the scholars. Now let's look at the other method of dating a rock, which is through radiometric means. We look at the ratios of the chemicals that are in this rock, the radiometric isotopes that are in this rock. And from those ratios, we derive a date because one element over time decays into another, and that rate is relatively constant. Now, what if some of the laws of physics have changed and there's been a change in the decay rates as well? Well, let's just consider what happens when I let go of this rock. Is it gonna move to the left? Is it gonna move to the right? Is it gonna move up? Is it gonna move down? Well, if some of the fundamental constants have changed in physics, then maybe some of the decay rates have changed. And actually, there's a basis for this. The sun actually emits some dangerous rays from time to time. For example, CME, coronal mass ejection. These harmful radiation hit the Earth, and it can cause all sorts of things. And in fact, as an example, in 2008, a solar storm happened, and the rate of manganese 54 actually spiked at that time. And so possibly solar effects could possibly change the radiometric decay rate. So maybe some of the fundamental constants have changed, and of course one of those would be gravity. So let's let this go and see what happens. Here's a book from the Smithsonian, and the title is In the Age of Mankind. It's about how man came to be here. And in it we find some interesting pictures. Here on this side, we find the famous paleoanthropologist who found these amazing human footprints in 1976 in Laetoli, Tanzania. Now, I emphasize the word human because mainstream science says they were actually made by pre-human ape-like ancestors. And the reason is because these rocks have been dated at 3.7 million years. Well, man supposedly hasn't been around that long. However, if you analyze the footprints, and you can see it right above my fingers there, clearly a human footprint. If we go to the beaches of California or the beaches of North Carolina and you look at the beach, they're gonna look just like that. They're obviously human footprints, but the mainstream scientists refuse to accept that conclusion. And right here, we see the pressure impressions of a modern footprint and the Laetoli footprints, and clearly it's human. Let's give this some thought. So the evolutionists are dedicated to millions of years, and they're dedicated to the idea that humans came from lower forms of life. Now, the dating method said that it was about 3.7 million years old, but humans haven't been around that long. In fact, Neanderthals only go back to about 500,000 years. And there's clear evidence that Neanderthals and humans have interbred, so we're really just one human species. So the idea is we have a choice to make. Do we want to accept the 3.7 million years, or do we want to accept the obvious fact that they're clearly human footprints? And we could reject the dating methods. That is what I would like to suggest, that we need to reevaluate these dating methods and realize they are based on very, very questionable assumptions. It would be nice if we had some kind of way to date rocks in a more straightforward way. If we could just put a specialized time thermometer on it or something. Well, trees have tree rings. Unfortunately, rocks don't have signs. Well, hold it. I guess they do have labels. I was wrong. So apparently this rock right here is 4.5 billion years old. Well, at least that's what the label says. Well, I'm sure you don't really believe that just because there's a label on it. So just like the mainstream scientists say the Earth is 4.5 billion years, we need to question those assumptions and apply our critical thinking. Question assumptions, look at alternatives, and clearly that rock is not 4.5 billion years old, and even by the mainstream scientists, they wouldn't actually date it at that. But there are many ideas that go into coming to those conclusions, and historically, many of the scholars and scientists, based on history and science and other means, accepted the idea that the Earth was just thousands of years old, and over time, the idea of millions and billions of years have developed. Well, one neat solution could be as if I really was Dr. Who and had a time machine. Unfortunately, I only have this sonic screwdriver, and that's all I have. So I don't actually have a TARDIS or a time machine to go back to try to deal with some of these issues. Now, I would encourage you to apply your critical thinking skills and actually look at some of these other viewpoints on the age of the Earth, because I believe that history and science actually does support, yes, Young Earth Science as an acronym, YES, yes. And that if we look at, for example, the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Toltecs, if we look at their chronology, they actually concluded that the Earth itself was only thousands of years old. Thank you for watching this video about the age of the Earth and the age of rocks. Our website is youngearthsciencebook.com, and there's also a shortcut, totalyouth.us. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. Have a great day.